Right, let's continue. Now, after Lamarck was Darwin, born in 1809. Last year was the 200-year celebration of his birth.
And you know what's so remarkable about his date of birth? That was the year that Lamarck actually proposed his theory of evolution in 1809.
Yeah. That's what we said earlier. Lamarck was a little bit before Darwin. Now, Darwin is known for the fact that he developed the theory of natural selection as the driving force for evolution.
And I think we'll say quite a bit on natural selection and explain it to you as best possible that we can. So, yeah.
Right, now,
Are you
Charles
going to
Darwin,
tell them a little
yes.
story about Charles
Yeah.
Darwin? I think it's always so interesting. We can just go through it since they have it on their slides.
I love the work on Charles Darwin. It's very interesting. Charles Darwin is best known for his book On the Origin of Species, to give the full title, On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. Tariq, you should do the maths. If Darwin was born in 1809, chances that he's still alive are very slim. Charles Darwin was the son of an English gentleman, and his father actually was a medical doctor, and his grandfather was a medical doctor, and his grandfather on his mother's side was the Wedgwood of the famous blue and white Wedgwood pottery. So Charles Darwin grew up quite privileged. His mother died when he was 9 years old, and his father was so grief-stricken that he said that nobody should mention the mother's name. But Charles Darwin's whole life contributed to what would happen later, this trip that started everything. Charles Darwin wasn't a good student, and he tried to become a medical doctor. It didn't work out. Then he went and he became a minister in the church, which was also not a very good idea, because he only studied that so that he could have time for his pursuits, which was a naturalist. Julle weet, daai tyd moet julle dink, het hulle nie beroepstoetse gehad nie, Karl, en daar was niemand wat vir hulle kon beroepsvoorligting gee nie.
Ja, nee, jy nou dink daaraan, sy pa was 'n dokter, so hy moes ook noodwendige dokter word.
As hulle so gelukkig was soos die matrieks, dan was daar iemand wat hulle dalk 'n bietjie kon help met 'n beroepskeuse. Maar gelukkig vir Charles Darwin het hy as 'n jong man te doen gekry met professor John Henslow, 'n plantkundige van die Cambridge Universiteit. En toe hy klaar studeer het, toe stel Henslow hom voor aan kaptein Robert Fitzroy. Now, Fitzroy was the captain of the HMS Beagle, a ship that had to charter, or to survey rather, the charter was to survey the coast of Southern America. Hulle moes hier in die kus van Suid-Amerika, en as julle nou gaan kyk daarso, moes hulle die kus karteer, net die kaartteken wat ons vandag gebruik. En Charles Darwin gaan toe saam vir 2 redes. Remember, it was the time of a very strict class system. The crew of the ship only spoke to each other, and the office and to the officers, and the officers to the captain, and the captain to nobody, was alone and friendless. So he took Darwin with as a companion, somebody to chat with, and Darwin also had to collect specimens, and that was the main thing. Nou, Darwin was 'n vrot matroos. Het hy en Robert Fitzroy het dadelik geklik, maar hy was 'n vrot matroos. He was seasick from the time that he got onto the ship, which was actually to our benefit, because that meant wherever they stopped, Darwin would get off. Each and every harbour that they stopped for a while, Darwin would get off, would go inland, do his trips, collect specimens, while Fitzroy and the crew sailed along the coast and did their surveys. And in that way, he collected much more than originally planned. En hy het 'n baie belangrike ding gedoen, Karl, en vir enige navorser het aantekeninge gemaak. He made notes.
And I think they also know that as young scientists that whenever you do any experiment or investigation, you make notes and you keep notes of everything that you observe.
And these notes they sent back to England, they sent the specimens back, and what happened was that Professor Henslow published Darwin's letters, and he read the letters to the Linnaean Society and to the Royal Society of Science. So everybody back in England knew about Darwin. Nou, in hierdie reis, ek gaan nog vinnig teruggaan, net as ons kyk hier na Suid-Amerika. Darwin het baie dinge gesien. Maar toe hulle hier kom, in die suidkus van Chile, you might remember that there was an earthquake a few months ago in Chile. Now, when Darwin was there was also an earthquake. And they visited the city of Concepcion here in Chile. And Darwin and Fitzroy, the captain of the Beagle, was there. And they sailed away. And the week later, when they got back, everything at Concepcion was 10 meters higher. And that made Darwin realize that these cataclysmic happenings could actually cause changes in the earth. Remember, he also read the books by Charles Lyell, the geologist. And then Darwin went, if you look at the slides again, Darwin and Captain Fitzroy went to the Galapagos Isles. And that is where everything started.
Yes.
There we are.